Okay, what I'd like to do today is just discuss with you some of the astrological, scriptural, Christian readings that are indicative of the scope of the early Christians' understanding of astrology and its impact on our lives. And from the Old and the New Testament, the scriptures are filled with astrological references. The only one that is so-called used to denigrate or to undermine astrology is some scripture that says something to the effect that go now to your stargazers and to your sorcerers and see if they can save you from these things that are about to occur. But there's not really an understanding by most people of how much astrology is in the scriptures. If you start from Genesis, you'll see that it says God created the sun, the moon, and the stars for signs and for seasons. Not just for seasons, but for signs. And that's exactly what they're for. He also, if you read also in Scripture, it says the stars in their courses fought against Sisera. Sisera was a captain in the army. You tell me how the stars in their courses can fight against them if they have no influence. Well, he lost the battle, and the Scripture is very clear on that. If you read the Psalms, it said, the sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. Well, I've heard of sunstroke, but I've never heard of moonstroke. I've heard of lunacy, which comes from the Bible, which means to be afflicted by the moon. Also, if you go into another Psalms, in Psalms 19, it says, the heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. And the night unto night showeth knowledge, and day unto day uttereth speech. And there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. And moreover, by them is thy servant warned. It says, their line goeth out throughout all the earth. Or you could say their aspects, their angles go out throughout all the earth. And there is no speech nor language where their voice is not heard. And moreover, by them is, in keeping them is their great reward. And by them is thy servant warned. And the original translation, it wasn't the heavens declare the glory of God and the firmament. It was the planets declare the glory of God, and the heavens showeth his handiwork. But again, that's just some of the scriptures. You could go into the New Testament, for example, and one of the most misunderstood scriptures, I believe, in the New Testament is a referral to the age of Aquarius that's soon to be on us, or which is on us actually at this time. It's moving in now. And the scripture says in the last days, it says, when the sign of the Son of Man appears in heaven, then shall all the tribes of earth mourn. Well, the Christians would have you believe that there's going to be a man coming out of the sky like Superman, and he's going to save us all from hell and damnation. Actually, it's talking about the sign of the Son of Man. And there's only one sign in the zodiac of a man. There's Sagittarius, my sign, which is half horse and half man, when it's not a half ass and a half man. But there's only one sign of a man, and that's Aquarius. There's Gemini, the twins, but there's only one sign of a man. And what is he doing? He's pouring out a pitcher. That's the sign of Aquarius. So the scripture says, in the last days I'll do what? I'll pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams. Your young men will see visions. And upon my handmaidens too in those days I'll pour out my spirit, and they too shall prophesy. Well, this is remarkable. What is this talking about? It's talking about the sign of Aquarius. It says his coming shall be as the lightning that shineth in the east and is seen in the west. It's an astronomical event. Okay? So, there's so much astrology in the scriptures. I could go further with that. I could show you the root of the Christians' word Saturn came from, Satan came from Saturn. Saturn was called Father Time, the devourer of all of his children. He was the old man with the sky, the reaper, if you would. And in astrology, of course, we know that Saturn is called the reaper. It's what you've sown, you reap with Saturn. And Zeus was the archetype for Jesus. Jesus, Jesus. He's still called Jesus throughout the world today in other countries. So Zeus was the archetype from which, and if you study the mythology, Saturn tried to devour all of his children, but he never got Zeus, who was hidden in a cave and grew to manhood and overthrew the wicked king, or the kingdom of Saturn. If you go back to the beginning of Christianity, we had Herod destroying all the children. For what reason? Because he heard there was going to be a child born that was going to usurp his power. If you go back to the time of Moses, that was the age of Taurus. Whereas Christ was ushering in the Piscean age, the age of the fish. Okay, we've had 2,000 years of the fish influence. Fish Fridays on Catholicism. His name in Greek, Christ's name was Ichthus. It means fish. His disciples, he made them 12. Pisces is a 12th sign. He ushered in an age of belief. Key word of Pisces is what? I believe. Every sign has a key word. Aries is I am. Taurus is I have. Gemini is I think. Cancer is I feel. Leo is I will. Virgo is I analyze, okay, or I discriminate. And then Libra is I balance or I harmonize. Scorpio is I desire. Sagittarius is I see. Capricorn is I use. That's Saturn sign. And then Aquarius is I know. That's the age we're moving into, the age of knowledge, which is what Aquarius is about. In those last days it said, knowledge shall be increased. Okay, who would have known that we could be walking around with a little device in our pocket called an iPhone or a cell phone that contains any information you want to find anywhere in the world. You want to find something, you need some knowledge about something, just go on the internet and they'll give it to you in seconds. So that's the age we're now moving into. But go back 2,000 years ago, we had Christ ushering in the Piscean age, and he was ending the Aryan age. The age of what? The sacrificial lamb. Who was he? He was the last sacrifice to end all sacrifices. That's what Aries was about, sacrifice. And I could carry this so much deeper, but before that we had Moses ending the Tarian age, saying no longer worship the golden calf. What's that about? Taurus, okay? And he said, now it's about the blood of the lamb. Put it on your doorpost, and your firstborn will be saved. Who is the first sign? Aries. What's the sign of Aries about? The lamb, the blood of the lamb. Until Christ came and he said, I'm the last sacrifice, no more of this. So that's just a short little discourse on the astrological influence on Christianity and what the Christians, quite frankly, and most of them would rather you didn't know. I mean, if the three wise men who were astrologers came into town today, they'd be kicked out, I'm sure, by some Christians because they were astrologers and they led us to Christ. Okay, so, it's an amazing story, they led us to Christ. And that's what what I believe the ultimate purpose of astrology is, to lead us to the cradle of divine realization. And that's what its purpose is. If it does that, it's a wonderful, beautiful science. So until next time, this is Ron Watson sharing with you some astrological knowledge and wisdom, I hope, and I hope you'll enjoy it. Thank you.